What is the most terrifying gut feeling you've ever had that ended up being 100% right? It started during the last period of the day on a Tuesday. I was sitting in Mr. Benson's lab and everything felt wrong. I have always been a kid who trusts my gut. Some people call it anxiety, but I call it an early warning system. Mr. Benson was the kind of teacher everyone loved. He was young and funny and played indie rock during dissections. But that afternoon, he kept looking at me, not just a glance to see if I was taking notes. He was staring at me like I was a puzzle he had finally figured out how to solve. When the bell rang, he asked me to stay behind to talk about my last lab report. I knew my report was fine. I had aced it. As the other students filed out, I felt the air in the room get heavy. He didn't talk about biology. He started asking me personal questions about which way I walked home and if my parents were usually working late. He was smiling, but his eyes were completely flat. It was the look of a predator who had already cornered its prey. I didn't wait for him to finish his sentence. I grabbed my bag and bolted. I didn't go home. I felt like if I went home, he would know exactly where to find me. I ran toward the cafeteria because I knew the janitors and the after-school clubs would be there. I needed witnesses. I needed a crowd. But when I got there, the main hall was mostly empty except for a few students at the far end and the kitchen staff packing up. I saw Mr. Benson enter the cafeteria through the side door. He wasn't running, but he was walking fast. He had this calm, terrifying look on his face like he was just coming to pick up something he had misplaced. I realized then that no one would believe me if I just pointed at him and screamed. He was the golden boy of the faculty. I was just a sophomore with a history of being high-strung. I ducked behind the serving counter. My heart was hammering against my ribs so hard it hurt. I saw a tray of cutlery that hadn't been put away yet. I grabbed a serrated steak knife. It felt cold and heavy and real. I wasn't thinking about being a hero or even about the consequences. I just knew that if he got close enough to touch me, I was never coming back. He rounded the corner of the counter and saw me. He stopped and put on that fake concerned teacher face. He told me I was overreacting. He told me he just wanted to help me with my grades. He took a step toward me and reached out his hand. That was when I jumped the counter and put the knife to his throat. The entire cafeteria went dead silent. I could hear the hum of the industrial refrigerators. I could see the sweat starting to bead on his forehead. Up close, I could see the mask slipping. He wasn't a teacher anymore. He was just a man who was terrified because his power had been stripped away in a second. I started screaming. I didn't even know what I was saying at first. I just yelled for someone to call the police and to look in his briefcase. I kept the blade pressed just firm enough against his skin so he knew I wasn't bluffing. He started crying. He started telling everyone I was crazy and that I had snapped under the pressure of finals, but I didn't move. I didn't let go even when the security guard came running in with his radio buzzing. The police arrived 10 minutes later. They had to talk me down for a long time before I would drop the knife. They tackled Mr. Benson the second I let go. They found zip ties and a sedative in his bag. They found photos of me in his car that he had taken from the bushes outside my house. I spent the night at the police station. The lead detective told me that they had been looking for a link in a string of disappearances from 3 towns over for 2 years. They never thought to look at a high school biology teacher with a perfect record. He told me I was brave. I didn't feel brave. I felt like a person who finally stopped running and decided to bite back. I saved myself and I probably saved the girl who would have been next. I still have nightmares about that flat look in his eyes, but at least now I know he is watching the clock in a cell instead of watching me from across a classroom. Full story on the channel, link below.